Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Has this ever happened to you? You're going about your week with an intention. You've got a goal in mind. You're putting in the time and necessary effort, following the processes you learned from your books, courses, or mentors. But after all that, it just doesn't seem to yield the results that you were expecting. This sort of thing can really get me into a head trap where I finally pick myself up and overcome my laziness. I do all the stuff that I know I'm supposed to do and start putting in the work, but then at the end of the day, things just aren't playing out the way that they're supposed to. Maybe you're auditioning for roles and you're not getting cast, or you're sending out marketing emails and you're not getting any responses. Or maybe you're putting out consistent weekly YouTube content and you consider it a good week when you get more than 24 views on a video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And unfortunately, this can often be a big part of life, and it's been happening to me quite a bit lately. So I've just been starting to think about ways about coping with this or continuing to have the motivation to keep moving forward even when things don't seem to be playing out the way that I want them to. So today, I want to share with you 3 thoughts that came up when thinking about the situation of how do you continue to move forward when the process that you're following isn't yielding the results that you're looking for. Number 1, reevaluate the process. When a process isn't yielding results, it's often a good opportunity to ask, is this in fact the right process to follow? So maybe take a step back and take some inventory, maybe run some analytics or something, and see how things are playing out and if there's anything that comes up that might need a little bit of tweaking. Maybe the process is already a good process, but there are things that you could be doing a little bit better to achieve slightly better results, which in my experience is almost always the case. Suppose then hypothetically that, for all intents and purposes, your process is perfect. Then it still may be the situation that you just need to put more time and repetitions into it before you start seeing any actual results show up. For example, I once heard a poker pro say that it takes about 10,000 hands at the poker table before you can actually decide how much money you're making on average and how good of a poker player you are across time. So if you're starting off a new business and you've only sent out like 10 emails, or you're a new actor and you've only auditioned for like 5 roles, give it some time. You often need to put in that additional work before you can even realize how effective something actually is. And one last note on this point. If you do find out that the process you've been following hasn't been as good as you originally thought, then don't beat yourself up about that. It doesn't do you any good to dwell and think about how things could have been different then if you had known then what you know now. Because honestly, that's just the way everything works. I mean, even the best people in the world, the best at what they do, are only working with the information that they believe to be best at the time. It's oftentimes that they learn something new and they're able to course correct as they go on. And you're just in the same way, maybe a bit earlier on. In the end, it just doesn't really serve you well to dwell on how things could have been, but rather just be grateful that you keep learning and growing and that you're better enabled now to move forward in the future. Thought number 2, treat your life like an investment portfolio. Basically, the idea is if one thing in your life isn't going so great, it's good to have other things in your life that you're focusing on to kind of average it out. It's like if you look at the S&P 500 on the stock market, 500 of the best performing companies in the entire exchange. A lot of the days, there'll be massive downswings in a lot of these companies. But because it's got 500 of the best ones, the overall trajectory is very steady and upward. So just because some companies have bad days at some times, and we all have bad days at some times, the overall trend is still moving upward. This is an idea that I came across after I had lost a few $1,000s in an investment opportunity a while back that, in retrospect, wasn't such a great idea. So yeah, maybe in that particular instance, I had lost some money. But in other places, my voiceover business was picking up. I was able to spend more time dedicated to some of my hobbies. My cost of living was low, and I was able to spend some time with friends and family when not a lot else was going on. So overall, not too bad. And I try to keep this perspective in mind as well today. So maybe I'm playing Elden Ring, and I've been stuck for 4 hours trying to beat Radagon of the Golden Order and the Elden Beast to no avail. But I got on the scale and I'm down 4 pounds from where I was a month ago. Maybe I'm not landing a whole lot of voiceover work, but maybe I'm spending some quality time with my family who I haven't been seeing as much in a while. Basically, it really helps me to take a step back and look at my life in the aggregate and realize that overall, things are going pretty well in my life. And when you realize that and broaden your perspective, things often start to look a lot less dreary. And finally, thought number 3, indifference to outcome. Sometimes the trap comes from being too emotionally attached to the results of our actions. It's a common idea in Buddhism, for example, that much, if not potentially all suffering is ultimately rooted in attachment. And so one of the goals of living a good life is to minimize those attachments so that you're not as distracted and can just focus on being at peace and have your heart and mind more clear for other areas. And frankly, being super invested in the way something is going to turn out is often not the right mindset to go into something with. And being too focused on the result can actually distract you in the moment from focusing on the process as best as you can. I think I've said before in a previous video that life isn't so much about the destination, it's about the journey. And you're going to get a lot more happiness and fulfillment if you can actually be present in the work that you're trying to do, and not merely just putting in time with the hope that after all of that, you're going to be in for a brighter and easier tomorrow. So then, you follow your process, you're doing your work, staying focused. Sometimes things work out in your favor, other times they don't. And that's just how life is. And just think, there are going to be a lot of people out there who are going to quit when things get hard, when they've sacrificed so much and it doesn't yield the results, even if they're doing everything that they think that they should. Or if maybe they see other people out there who seem to be getting results easier or with less time and effort. But if you can stick things out despite that, you start to reach this human tipping point where you start to become this kind of person where you can just buckle down and continue to focus on the path even when nothing seems to be going and playing out the way that it should. And when you become the kind of person who can stick to a good path even when nothing's going your way, you basically just become unstoppable. And there's just not a lot that life can throw at you anymore to keep you from making the things that you want to happen. So, there are my thoughts for today. Thanks as always for tuning in and staying part of the conversation. Putting this video together has really helped me process a lot of things I was working through, and I hope that it provided some value to you, the viewer, as well. Anyways, as always, I'll catch you guys next week. Hope you're doing fantastic, so take care, God bless, and I'll see you next time.